Elon Musk has been a whirlwind in the last couple of weeks. It's very hard to keep up with him. Last night, Elon Musk said that he might step down as CEO of Twitter. He would let the people decide. He said he would abide by the results of a poll should he remain at the head of Twitter. And the poll said he should not remain at the head of Twitter, which is horrible. I wish Elon Musk would remain at the head of Twitter because he's done a very good job. But this popular appeal follows a lot of other popular appeals that Elon Musk has made. Elon Musk, just a few nights ago when I was on the Tim Pool show out in the middle of the woods outside Washington, Elon Musk banned a bunch of liberal journalists, which I thought was awesome. Tim broke the news to me on the show. I said, this is great. I'm so happy. And then Elon reversed it and unbanned them. The journalists, quote unquote journalists, they're just liberal activists, had been doxing Elon Musk, putting his family at risk. So he banned them. But then he said, okay, I'll abide by the results of the poll. If you think I should unban them, they only have a 7-day suspension, but I'll unban them if you want me to. And then the people said unban them, and then he unbanned them. He restored the accounts of CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan, New York Times tech reporter Ryan Mack, WAPO reporter Drew Harwell, Aaron Rupar, one of the worst of the worst, National's Matt Binder, he was also allowed back. And the principle that Elon has articulated during this whole thing is 4 words: Vox Populi, Vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. He's used that phrase specifically. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. And it's a cute phrase, and it's been used a lot, especially in the last 300 or so years. But the thing we got to remember is, it's not true. In fact, the earliest appearance of the phrase is from a deacon named Alcuin, who wrote this at the end of the 8th century. I think it was 798 or thereabouts. Wrote it in a warning to Charlemagne. And he said, you got to resist this idea. This is a terrible, dangerous idea. He said, those people should not be listened to who keep saying the voice of the people is the voice of God, since the riotousness of the crowd is always very close to madness. Now, the problem is the phrase, which was initially used to mock the idea that the voice of the people is the voice of God, later on in the 14th century, and especially after the early 18th century, came to be used to affirm the principle that the voice of the people is the voice of God. Even we conservatives in America sometimes appeal to this idea when we're feeling particularly populist and democratic. But it is not true. More often than not, it is the opposite of true. Do you remember what the mob did to Socrates? It's Christmas time. Do you remember what the mob did to our Lord Jesus Christ? Remember, was that the voice of the people being the voice of God? Furthermore, when you recognize that God has 2 distinct wills, God's perfect will and God's permissive will, God's perfect will being what God really wants for all of us, and God's permissive will, within the context of human free will, turning bad things to good. This is when we say the fall of man, in a way, can be viewed as a good thing. It was bad in and of itself, but oh, happy fault that won for us so great, so glorious a Redeemer. God the Father allowing the passion and crucifixion of his Son, Jesus, bad thing in itself, certainly seems very bad and wicked and unjust and evil, except that God has overcome the evil of this world. That the darkness has not overcome the light. And so 3 days after the crucifixion, on the 3rd day, Christ rises again, conquers death, and now we all celebrated Easter. So when you recognize that there's a difference between those 2 things, then the voice of the people can advocate for very wicked things indeed. It's not a conservative idea to say Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Elon Musk, though, as a kind of agent of chaos, allowed this principle. And then when he reinstated the journalists, the journos go into a Twitter chat and they all start whining about Elon Musk. And then Elon Musk joins the Twitter chat and gives them a piece of his mind.
As I'm sure everyone who's been doxxed would agree, showing real-time information about somebody's location is inappropriate, and I think everyone on this call would not like that to be done to them. And there's not going to be any distinction in the future between journalists, so-called journalists, and regular people. Everyone's going to be treated the same. You're not special because you're a journalist. You're a Twitter. You're a citizen. So no special treatment. You dox, you get suspended. End of story.
You're not that special. Journos, I know this is the worst phrase you've ever heard in your life because you believe. You work at CNN, you work at MSNBC, you tell yourself you are the fourth estate, the intrepid, courageous reporter speaking truth to power. They're not, of course. They are doing the bidding of power. The most powerful interests in the whole country are paying their bills. They say, we're so special, we're standing up. And Elon says, you're not special, but I have a blue check mark. And now everybody gets a blue check mark. No, I'm special. You can't ban me, Elon. Yes, I can. You dox me. You dox my family. I'm going to ban you. I wish he had banned them more. It was a good thing. My only complaint about the Elon Musk incident is that he did not ban them more. I'll be speaking on this more a little bit later today at TPUSA. I'm flying out to Phoenix right after my show to America Fest. Very, very excited that I was able to make it to that. So we will not be having a member segment today. We got great member segment coming the rest of the week, but I had to fly out there, had to go celebrate some of the wins that we're getting right now, and had to make my plea before the people to say, no, we need Elon to ban more of the liberal journalists. It's actually a great thing. But the liberal journos, the fence sitters, the so-called moderates and centrists, and I don't think they're really all that moderate or centrist, they don't really get it. Bari Weiss, who is a liberal, she's a liberal journalist, but because she has in any way broken ranks with the far left, the conservatives all go gaga. And they say, wow, she's one of us. I don't think she's one of us. I like some of her work, but I'm sure we all share very different premises about the world, and Bari Weiss lets that be known every once in a while. So Elon Musk gave the Twitter files to expose the corruption at Twitter under the previous ownership to Bari Weiss and the other journalist, Matt Taibbi, similar kind of cloth, a liberal journalist who sometimes breaks ranks. But Bari Weiss went off on Elon about this. She said, the old regime at Twitter, governed by its own whims and biases, and it sure looks like the new regime has the same problem. I oppose it in both cases. And I think those journalists who are reporting on a story of public importance should be reinstated. Nope. No, that isn't true. Though there are many people who would even call themselves conservatives who agree with Bari Weiss's point, but nevertheless, it's wrong. I had this debate on Timcast the other night. It was mostly a debate between me and Luke on the show. Luke representing much more the libertarian position. I was representing much more the conservative position. The libertarian position and the liberal Bari Weiss position is this. Anytime anyone wields power within the public square to set standards and norms and to censor, I know we're not allowed to use the C word, to censor a certain speech, that is always equally bad, no matter who's doing it, and we shouldn't tolerate it. Now, this is a utopian and preposterous position because we all agree that certain things should be banned from the public square. We all agree child pornography should be banned from the public square. We all agree, I think we all agree, that threats should be banned, fraud should be, I think we all agree on that. None of that type of speech has ever been considered protected by the First Amendment. Obscenity, should obscenity be banned? I certainly think so. According to the laws on our books, obscenity should be banned, but in recent years, legal protections for the community against obscenity have broken down because of activist judges, but I think that should be banned. We all agree certain things should be censored. How about the N-word? That's a good example of a taboo in our culture. Do we think that the N-word should be permitted and used all over social media? No one really thinks that, and it wouldn't be tolerated. Okay, now what about when we start getting into more controversial issues? What about let's talk about transgenderism. According to the old regime at Twitter, you were not allowed to call a man who thinks that he's a woman a man. That could get you banned. That was called misgendering. If you referred to Richard Levine, who's the man who wears the skirt, and he's the assistant health secretary because we're living in clown world, if you refer to him as Richard or he, that could have gotten you banned under the old Twitter regime. Now, today, if you dox Elon Musk and his family, that could get you banned under the new Twitter regime. I guess as a matter of procedure, there's a similarity because certain speech can get you banned. But that's where the similarities end, okay? Those are completely different uses of speech. And it is not the same thing to say, we will ban you for telling the truth and stating an important fact, namely that men who pretend to be women are actually men, versus we're going to ban you for endangering a man's life and behaving in it. And I would go further than that. I think there's plenty of speech that we can police and discourage. That has always been true. Yeah, political correctness is a speech code. So is chivalry. So is being a gentleman, okay? It's not the same. Well, if we wield political power, why then we'll be the same as the liberals. No, we won't. Because while there can be similarities with process and procedure, similarities in substance matter too. I was having this debate on Timcast. If you, Michael, if you encourage good things and ban bad things, why then you're no different from the left, which encourages bad things and bans good things. No, good and bad are not the same. But Michael, the leftists think that they're right. Right, but they're wrong. But how do you know what's right and wrong? Because we just do. That's what ultimately this debate on Timcast broke down to. Is I asked Luke, I said, Luke, you telling me we can't know the difference between good and bad, right and wrong? He says, no, we can. It's just arbitrary. I said, okay. Do you think it's better to bake a pie for a widow or to kick a baby in the head? And he said, oh, I'm not answering. That's a ridiculous question. It's not a ridiculous question. It's a very simple, it's a hypothetical. He said, it's not a hypothetical. I'm not asking him a hypothetical question, which relies on conditional statements. I'm asking him a question in the present, in the here and now. Is it better to bake a pie for a widow or to kick a baby in the head? We all know that it's better to kick the... No, I'm joking. We all know it's better to bake the pie for the widow. So if we all know that, then that means that we can come to certain conclusions about what is good and what is bad, and we can act on those conclusions. That's what self-government is.